Hello, dear listeners. This is Paul from Who's C2C. I'm with my good friend Jeff, as always, but we are also joined tonight by the magnificent, the wonderful, the utterly fabulous Jonny Mathers.
Are you talking about me? Are you sure? Fabulous,
Yeah,
wonderful.
that
I'm not
is
sure you got the right guy.
I bestowed those adjectives upon you. You can have them
email
for free,
that,
Jonny.
you sent, wasn't it?
Thanks for that. I'll take it. I'll take all of it. It's fine.
I would, mate. As it doesn't happen often, I'll tell you now.
No, not really.
Any compliments,
I get called a lot worse.
Yeah, he's quite tight with his compliments, so I'll take it.
Okay, I'm taking it. Yeah. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Good man. Excellent.
How you doing?
I'm good. All good. It's a little bit windy at home, so if you hear rattling, it's probably just my low quality housing falling apart. So don't worry. All right.
It's really
my fence is going out there as well, so
good.
You're not alone.
Yeah, so not just me then tonight. It's proper got windy out there in the last hour, so
yeah, it's really got quite nasty. So for anyone who doesn't know, and I'm sure everybody actually does know, Jonny is incredibly famous for playing the role of. He's just laughing at me now. Jonny plays Passenger played Passenger in the recent series of Doctor Who Flux. I was trying to bestow some drama into that.
No, I like it.
I don't know if it came
it's
through,
good.
but
no, it's beautiful.
It's
real good.
I'll add a bit of extra bass to that and some echo for you.
Thanks, Jeff. He's our post-production pundit wizard. Yes.
You always need a post-production wizard. They're the geniuses behind everything. You know what I mean?
And Jeff is cheap, so it's everyone's a winner, basically.
Well, I'm even cheaper. That's why I was on Doctor Who, so don't worry about it.
You were paid by line, weren't
you? Yeah. So nothing. Not even a grunt. There you go.
Not even a grunt. But what a presence, mate. Seriously, when you appeared on screen in the death mask, in the get-up and everything, I couldn't take my eyes off you because I was literally scared. Honestly, I was scared of that. It was terrifying.
Do you know, Paul, do you remember?
I don't remember anything, mate. I've been on the beers.
Well, so this was a while ago, and
now you're really asking.
This is probably early last year, and you guys were filming outside maybe the museum in Liverpool, and you got papped.
I did
in costume. And do you remember, Paul, the picture spread all over Twitter, and who's this? What is this? And
it was like
everyone was sort of really excited.
People thought I was a mime.
Massive.
I mean, that was the weirdest one. Just like they're filming Doctor Who, and this random 7-foot mime has just appeared on set, and just for no reason.
Yeah, he's nothing to do.
Nothing
with
to do with it at all. Yeah. So that was I got papped. I tried not to, but they got me. So
They're very creative with their pappetry. Oh, there's a word.
There was no creative stuff there, mate.
No, they just pointed the camera at you.
There was like 100, 200 maybe people hanging around. So when I turned up on that shoot, it's really funny because the cars pull up, so they put you in a Merc, so you feel quite special, all chauffeured around Liverpool.
Say that, yeah.
And I pull up, and there's all these people like looking at this Merc, and then I like crawl out because I can't get out of the back of a Merc very easy. Yeah, and everyone's just like, because obviously it wasn't Jodie or Mandip, so they weren't interested in who I was. So
you could hear that.
Yeah, I just
of dissatisfaction, disappointment.
Yeah, and it was just like, oh well, I'm just gonna food truck, and I was off. I better get me grub on, and it was. No one really paid attention. I was stood next to the camera guys when they were lining the shot up, and they were like, Jonny, can you just stand here? So so John knows where he's looking at, and like John's like 200 yards away. He wouldn't have mattered where he was looking. No one would tell. And I sort of stood there, and then these two security guys started talking to me as if like they thought I was taking over their next shift, because I was just in black trousers and a black t-shirt. So I think they just thought I was another security geezer. And then no one said anything. No one looked at me. Nothing. I mean, and then walked into this little gazebo. They decked me out in the passenger gate. I walked out, and as soon as I walked out, I just heard this, and it was just like, what was that? And it was just quite a few of them in unison, gasping, and then you could hear the iPhones clicking, and and there was like a few flashes, like, oh, I'm done for. But I'd literally gone out, shot like 30 seconds, walked back in the gazebo, took the gear off, and one of the runners came up to me and went, "You're on Twitter." Like, it's been 10 minutes. Like, straight away.
They're that quick.
On Twitter, like that. New alien. You're like, what is he? He's a DILF.
Yeah.
He's a MILF. Like, what's going on? So, yeah, it all got a bit weird that night.
Did it?
There you go.
Yeah. And then I remember when watching Flux, and then I suddenly thought, oh, I remember seeing those pap shots of the really tall guy. What's going on? Because what episode did you first appear in?
So, episode 2, which is called...
That's it, yeah.
For the life of me, can't remember.
That's War of the Sontarans, isn't
yeah,
it?
War of the Sontarans. Can't remember. Terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Because you come into the temple, don't you, with Swarm and Azure.
And that was.
And so when I watched,
that was it. It was like no one knew what I was. I had a few people started making links that it was me for a start off. Because a few friends had spotted it. And I'm like, "Is that you?" I was like, "I can't tell you." But it looks like you. I was like, "Still can't tell you." Yeah. And yeah, so my first appearance on the actual show was War of Sontarans, and that coming in the Temple of Atropos, and it was weird to do that part of the shoot after I did that months before I did Liverpool, months and months.
Really?
Yeah. So it was quite staggered,
Yeah. So how did the role come your way in the first place?
The glory of social media.
Amazing.
So
really.
It was on Creative Casting, who have been great, and I can't thank them enough. Creative Casting put an advert on Facebook. It purely said we want someone over 6'10", tall, intimidating looking.
Yeah.
A friend tagged me in it and said, "You got to go for this." So it was a WhatsApp number. It was just a mobile number. I messaged him. I said, "I'm 7'2". I think I'm too tall." And literally, like, the WhatsApp conversation went on then for about 20-30 minutes. It didn't take them long to reply at all. They wanted pictures. They wanted my CV. I'm like, I haven't got one. Have you acted before? I played Lurch in the Addams Family. Don't know if that counts. And they were like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah." Like, I was in a musical, and they were like, "Oh right, okay. Oh, that's great. Have you got anything else?" I was like, "Well, I dress up as Kratos and run around woods cosplaying. So I can send you that video if you really want." So that's what I sent them, and then they were like, "Yeah, the director's really interested. We'll get back to you." I was like, "Great." Literally 3 weeks, nothing. Didn't hear a Scooby. So I just thought, well, it's not going anywhere. And then I get this phone call. They don't want you for 2 days now. They want you for a week, which caused a few issues trying to organise it with work, but I managed it. And then it was like, "Can you do a week?" "Yeah, I can." "Well, you've got to say yes." And it was really cryptic. It was like, "You've got to say yes." "Why?" "And this never happens to us." "What never happens to you?" "They're going to make you into a proper role. It's not just a walk-on now." Because originally it was just a walk-on.
Yeah.
Right.
It's going to be a proper role. And I went, "Okay. Yes then, yes. You're going to be passenger in Doctor Who." I was like, "Brilliant. Don't know what a passenger is." They didn't know what a passenger was. No one knows what a passenger was. And it was just like, "Okay, we'll get you sorted out with fittings and COVID tests." So I went to a location about a week later to have my first COVID test. So I had to leave, home, drive past Bristol, all the way over the bridge, get to Cardiff, turn up, have a COVID test done by the medic, and then toddle off my way. But they took me to the warehouse where they were filming the bit where Dan's parents drop him off in the Volvo. So the Volvo was there, and I was like, "What the hell's going on? Like, I don't get, why is there a Volvo? There's just a Volvo outside a warehouse."
Just randomly, just dropped in there.
You're literally randomly in an industrial estate in Cardiff, and I was like, I haven't got a clue what's going on. And I said, "Is there any way I can have a look around?" She was like, "No, not yet." I was like, "Oh, okay, that's fine."
Oh.
And off I toddled, and that was it. And it was backwards and forwards. Costume fittings. Ray Holman, like, I think he had a small heart attack when he saw me walk in his room. He was like, and there's a comedy picture on Stephen Rick's Instagram. So Stephen Ricks is the guy that made the actual coat. He's he of Ray's designs, he made the coat. And Ray sent him a picture of Ray measuring me for the costume, and Ray's on a chair with like a drop tape measure like that. And and that's how it went. It was really bizarre. It felt really odd. I hadn't met any of the cast, the crew, nothing. I'd met one of the assistant directors. I met the costume guys, who were all brilliant, and I knew all the medics by name by the end of that first 2 months, because they were coming to my house every week to jab me in the nose. So yeah, that's how it started. That was it. Simple as that.
That's really something, isn't it?
Be...
So you went from having very little acting experience, except like you said, for a musical and some cosplay type stuff, into Doctor Who, which is obviously massive.
It's not bad for a first. It's not bad for a first role, is it?
It's not bad.
I mean,
at all.
you aimed pretty high there.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's my problem. I've set the bar so high. I don't know what to do next.
You probably peaked.
Yeah, I'm like, I've peaked way too early. It is weird because I didn't know any of it. I mean, I've got a degree in animation, right? And 20 years ago, I was totally into making animated films. I trained on how to do 3D stop motion model. I knew a lot about how to direct things like that. I knew about sound engineering, editing, and that. But 20 years ago, this was. So I had an understanding of how the business works and stuff because that's what you're trained to do. But obviously, life, family, everything else kind of takes over and circumstance, and I kind of moved away from it. So to go into that kind of production setting where everything has totally changed. I mean, everything. Wireless monitors. I remember dragging things on trolleys around for hours, and stuff like all that kind of new tech and stuff. The way they do things, LED lighting, and all this lot. And walking into that set for the first day, you walk into the Temple of Atropos, and you can tell it's a set, but it's pretty imposing. It's a pretty big thing. I mean, it's huge, and and it was designed really well, so that different segments of it at different angles could be different parts of it. So it was one room, but like they could section off one part of it to make a corridor, it was quite clever like that. And you sort of walk in that set and just go, what have I got myself into? I mean, literally, I've got like a Scooby, and I didn't even know like who Sam and Rashenda were. So the first time I met Sam, I walked past him in a corridor. I had a bobble hat on and a mask. He had a cap on and a mask. And he went, "You must be Passenger." And I went, "Yeah." And he went, "I'm Swarm." I went, "Oh, nice to meet you." I didn't know who he was. I didn't have a clue. And what makes it even harder was like 3 days into filming, I realised who they were because I'd only ever seen him in makeup.
Got you. Yeah.
And it's like I had a proper fangirl moment over Rashenda. I was like, I love you in Line of Duty, you're amazing. And then over Sam was just like, we'd literally watched like Legend a couple of weeks earlier where he plays Jack the Hat, and you're just like, how's that guy go from that role to this role? And he's so he's so good at it. So meeting those people was just amazing. I mean, Mandip was fantastic. She was so friendly. I walked on the set and they sort of put me to one side away from the main actors because I'm just an extra, I ain't important. And Mandip was sat with Jacob, and I didn't even realise that was Jacob Anderson at the time either. So I got a bit of a shock when I walked over there, and she was like, "Come here." I was like, "No, they put me here." She went, "Fine, if you're too good for us, go on, stay over there then." I was like, "No, I didn't mean that." Oh my god, I've pissed off Mandip. So yeah, it was a weird experience, totally bizarre. Yeah. But it grew on me.
There's a question here from Doctor Whovian on Twitter. Yeah. Their username is @DrWhovian123, and they said, "How did you feel when you were told you'd won the role?" So you said you didn't hear anything for a couple of weeks, and I was going to say just now, it can often be like that with acting. You go for an audition, and then it can be ages. Or you get a phone call, "Are you free tomorrow morning to audition?" I got a friend, Emily, and she presents an action. She'll get a phone call. You've got an audition tomorrow. Then she goes for it, and then they ask you to hold 3 days the week after. And you don't know which day they're going to use you on, and I don't know how you can live like that. It's such a bizarre.
Trust me, it's not easy, especially when you've got a full-time job.
I can imagine. Yeah.
So when they told me I got the part, I was like, "This is brilliant."
Yeah.
And and I was like, I was proper like just buzzing because I didn't realise either at first it was Doctor Who. That was the thing.
Oh right.
So it was kind of like so it was like your passenger in Doctor Who, and I heard the passenger bit, and then I realised she said Doctor Who, and I was like, "What? Really? Oh my god!" So then it was like I had a couple of minutes just try and calm myself down, stop jumping around the lounge. And then, obviously, we have to sign NDAs and stuff like that. It's like, you can't tell anyone, and which wasn't exactly very clear at the beginning. So you know, I thought I've got to tell the wife because I can't just say I'm going to Cardiff for a week, love. Ta-ra. So
yeah, there's a lot of questions.
Yeah, there's a lot. Where are you staying? In a hotel. It was really odd because I said I need to talk to you, and she's like, "Why?" I said, "You know that thing, that walk on I went for." She's like, "Yeah, whatever." I went, "I got it," and she went, "Oh, great, yeah." I went, "It's in Doctor Who." She went, "Oh, that's nice. That's great. That's amazing. Oh, that's been brilliant for you." They want me for a week. What? Yeah, and it's not just a walk on; it's like a proper role.
Yeah.
And she was just so my wife did the first part of her degree in acting.
Oh, did she? Oh.
Yeah. And performance. And
she did all that, and you just landed it.
And yeah, and all of her family are into performance. Like, you know, she runs a theatre school with her mum.
Yeah.
They put on shows. She has my wife has her own dance school. So, you know, performance is a massive part of her life. And
yeah,
I'm just like, I got a job on TV and you haven't.
You've got to tell us a dance school name. Give it a quick plug.
Well, it's Next Steps Dance Academy, and it's based in North Somerset. And they do some fantastic classes with like all sorts of kids, different age ranges, different abilities as well. And I think they've still got adult classes as well. But they took over from my wife's auntie a few years ago, and then they revamped it and renamed it, and they're doing, you know, really well. And they're just preparing for a show they're putting on in a couple of months. But I mean, like, it's always been a big part of her life. That's how I got back into it. I got into it because of her. Yeah. So when I met her, she was performing in Our House, a local production of Our House, a musical based on the Madness music. Yeah. And she kind of just, we hadn't been together very long. She said, "Oh, I've got to do this show." All right. and okay. And she was like, "They need some help backstage though. Have you ever done anything like that?" I was like, "Funnily enough, yeah, I have quite a bit." And she went, "Do you fancy helping out?" And the next thing you know, I'm roped into like a musical every year for about the next 6 years.
That's it. You're booked.
I mean, building sets, moving sounds, like stages, doing sounds. I mean, like everything. So it's because of that I got back into doing that kind of stuff, like theatre and props and sets and things, which then led to the Lurch thing, which was just a bit bizarre as well. And then, and that's what put me in Doctor Who, I think, really, because it just kind of was a natural progression back into it, you know.
Yeah. So you did the Lurch in the Addams Family, right? Was that?
So,
tell us about that.
So a good friend of ours, Robbie Burns, he's a director and he runs some theatre company stuff, and and he was like, he just directed a show with the theatre company that my wife was in,
right?
And he said, "Oh, come for a big coffee."
A big coffee.
A big coffee, because everyone knows I like
proper chat.
You know, I drink out of a pint pot, so he knows it's going to be costly taking me to a coffee shop. Yeah,
I'm not going to show you my diminutive cup with a ladylike handle.
It's not all about the size of your cup. So anyway, I was like, okay, so we went and he said, "I want you to be in the Addams Family musical." So it's the first time in the UK they've given the license for it to be done.
Yeah,
they've given it to kids theatre companies, but not giving it to adult theatre company. He had Sunshine Productions. They'd done quite a lot of really good shows with good reviews, so he managed to bag it somehow. And he said, "I want you to play Lurch." And I was like, "Is it a musical?" He's like, "Yeah." I went, "I can't sing, mate." And he went, "Yeah, but you're in bands." I was like, "I can't sing. I mean, well, my kind of singing is not what you want on a stage, put it that way, you know what I mean? Guttural death metal." So I went, "What have I got to do?" And he said, "Look," he said, "there is a small amount of singing, and it is right at the end of the show, and you sing with the cast." And I was like, "Brilliant. All right." I said, I'll give it a go. I said, like, "Have I got like the lines like you rang?" And he went, "No, there's no lines." He said, "You just make like noises." Like literally that.
Is it?
So like you get the script, and it's like Lurch.
That was amazing.
So I was like, "Yeah, okay." So, you know, we went and did a photo shoot, and I met all the rest of the cast. Then we went to a read-through, and I'm sat at this read-through, and everyone's like reading through the script, and I'm doing like, like, "Oh, this is easy. I can walk this." Like, and then it gets to like the second to last page, and it like Gomez is about to burst into song, and then the spotlight turns on Lurch, and Lurch starts singing, and I was like, "What is that?" and he went, "Oh, did I not mention you've got to do the finale solo?"
No.
It's like, no, you didn't. So
you said it was part of the group.
Yeah, I was like proper like freaking then. So I've gone online, gone on YouTube, and looked at the Broadway performance, and the guy that played Lurch in the original Broadway show was a proper opera singer. Like, so the surprise part of the show is that this operatic Lurch comes out with, and I had to learn how to sing, like really sing. But I realised that I couldn't really sing very well. Right. People say I can sing, but in my ears it doesn't sound right.
Did you take lessons?
Yeah, so I had to have lessons. I had to have lessons with the MP, but I realised the only way I could sing was by singing like a zombie. So it works. It works. Yeah. So I pulled off a rather impressive rendition of this song in my own zombie-esque voice, and then they were like, "So you got to do it with the cast now." I was like, ugh. So I did it with the cast, and the cast were like, "You were really I mean, these guys are really good. Like, they're some of the best performers I've ever seen and ever met." And they were like, "Oh, they were really good. Oh, you're really good, Johnny. You're really good." And I'm like, "You're just saying that because I really ain't."
You just be polite.
But the first night I had to do it, the first night I ever sang live, like live where people just heard my voice, was in front of 600 people in Western Playhouse.
Oh my goodness.
And there's nothing more twitchy than being stood on a stage with the whole cast on there, and you can't see, but there's 600 people in front of you, and then the spotlight hits you, and I've got to do this song, and I was like... But
Johnny pulls a face, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I pulled a face, bite my fist, and still quiver at the fear of it. But I did 6 shows. It went really well. I always got an applause. So
yeah.
I don't know if that's because people just felt sorry for me. They were like, "Oh, he's right."
No,
he had a go.
Bless him. But it's one of those, like you said, a surprise role at the end where you could bring the house down, couldn't you? Because that's the big thing. And,
and it worked.
And then suddenly, after the work everybody's done, Lurch owns the show.
Well, I like to think that I own the show there, much like I saved the universe in Flux.
Exactly.
So,
well, you really
imagine
did,
if Passenger had burst into song towards the end of Flux. I mean, that would have been something, wouldn't it? I'd actually pay money to see that, especially if it was going to be guttural death metal.
There's a fan edit there. Anyone who's listening, I could do it, I suppose, couldn't I? Actually, but someone needs to take some of your bits and add some screaming, singing over the top of it.
Don't tempt some of my mates, trust me, because they take great pleasure in pulling the rip out of me. Like I'd just done London Comic Con as a guest. Normally I'm the other side of the table for Comic Con, and I'm still like getting my head around the fact I was actually a guest and people wanted my autograph. But I was saying to my best mate's Mike, I was like, I've got this Comic Con I'm going to. He's like, when is it? I was like, this weekend. He went, I'm in London that weekend. I was like, he went, I'm going to come in the worst passenger cosplay you've ever seen. He said, I'm going to wrap myself in bin bags and spray paint a colander and put it on my face, and then stand by your table all day. And I was like, don't do that, mate. Please don't. For God's sake, don't do that.
Did he do that?
Then he didn't, thank God, because he was getting our other mate Grim involved. Grim was like, I'll come and do it with you, mate. Let's do it together. It's like, no, the last thing I want is you two stood either side of my table with colanders on your faces. You know what I mean?
That'd be brilliant.
So, were you a fan of Doctor Who before you were cast in the show?
I've said this quite a few times when I've chatted to people, but Tom Baker was my Doctor. Like, he wasn't, when I was a kid it was Peter Davison, but Tom Baker was my Doctor. He's the guy that I always associate with Doctor Who. He's just that quirky, weird, slightly crazy-eyed guy that just, and it came across really well. Yeah. I've started since the whole being in Doctor Who and meeting so many Whovians and chatting to so many of them and connecting with them on like Twitter and stuff, and now actually meeting them in person at London Comic Con, which is just great to finally actually meet them. But like I've started like going through the original series and then the revamp series.
Like the back
so I'm kind of doing them in tandem. Probably the stupidest thing I've ever done. So I just finished I just finished the first revamp series. I'm starting on the David Tennant stuff, and then like
Great.
I'm just about to start the John Pertwee stuff. So
yeah, we're big Pertwee.
Yeah, so I'm like getting into it that way because I kind of need to know a bit more about it. I know enough that I can hold my own, I reckon, but not enough that I wouldn't want to get involved in an argument with an Uber fan because Whovians are pretty, they are. I mean, passionate. Star Wars. I'm a Star Wars fan. Star Wars fans are passionate, vicious. We go for the jugular. If you don't know what's going on with the connection between Rebels and the Mandalorian now, I ain't talking to you.
Exactly. But,
quite right. With Who, it's like, my God. I mean, like I could really step a foot wrong. I mean, I was scared.
Yeah. So Whovians aren't scary. Come on, we're a lovely bunch.
And it's been really cool. Like, I remember watching the Eccleston stuff, and it was. I always thought it was a really good revamp. So I enjoyed watching it again. So it'd be interesting now to see how I get on with the Tennant stuff because that's where I kind of fell off last time.
Oh, is it?
Okay, be interested to see whether.
Yeah, so see if it holds back up to what I don't know. It's but Who fans have been great. I can't.
Yeah.
So I like that, Johnny. It's good, for me, and probably for a lot of fans as well. It's important that the people who play the characters that you like are, into it all. To not necessarily, and probably quite impossible to be into it the same extent that fans are. But like you're watching stuff back there, so you've got that knowledge about it, and even just to be able to say, oh yeah, I remember that episode, and you can't know all the ins and outs, all the finer details and stuff, but it's like there's some actors who play parts in big films and stuff, and you can like Hugh Jackman, he loves being Wolverine. Christian Bale, I'm not sure he was that fussed about being Batman. Do you know what I mean? And that kind of puts me off a little bit. So it's nice when someone is passionate about the role.
And I think when you become part of something like this, so like you become part of Star Wars, you become part of Doctor Who. Even other shows that have gotten long gone, you know what I mean? You become part of something that's really important in someone's life.
Yeah.
And that could be 10 people or it could be, 10 million people. Who knows? But it's important to them. And you hold a responsibility. And you're always going to be a part of it. And I always knew from taking the role that I'm going to be in Doctor Who. And whether I'm some slime-covered creature that's in 30 seconds of one episode, or I'm in what originally I was told was going to be 8 episodes, which ended up me being in 5. I'm still part of Who, and that means something, and that's something you've got to be responsible for as well. And you can tell that with other people that have been in Doctor Who how important that is to them. So I was really lucky at London Comic Con. I got to sit next to Sophie Aldridge, who came over to chat to me. Awesome. And she was like, "How did you get the role? Did you enjoy it?" And she really actually cared about, and she was like, welcome to all of this madness, all these things you'll get to do, and it was really nice, to actually have that conversation with her because she really, really feels passionately about it, really cares about it. She really cares about the fans and the people who go to conventions to see her, and people like trail around the conventions all over the country. Every single one that's on, they'll be there, and pay for that autograph, the 10th time, just so they get 5 minutes to chat to the person that was on Doctor Who. I met Sylvester McCoy briefly, very briefly. He kind of ran past me. He was really quick. He just was like, "Hello,
lightning, that boy."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But it was a really nice experience to meet. To meet these people and understand that it's important to them. It's important to the Who fans, and it's important to me now because I'm part of that. It's not going to go away.
No, that's it now.
So did you feel like from what you were saying with Sophie Aldred there, and also with Mandip, sort of, inviting you over to come and chat and be part of the family? Did it feel like you're kind of walking into a family, that you're becoming part of it now, that you're kind of...
It definitely feels like it now. And at the time, it's like two separate things. The bit afterwards, I definitely feel part of. I've been on Twitter Spaces and I've chatted to people on Messenger and I've had emails off people. I've had things sent to work, like cards and stuff, and and because someone published where I work in a paper, and the next thing I've got your fan mail's turned up, Johnny. You better come and pick it up from the office.
More fan mail.
So, oh god, terrible.
Just quickly, what's the day job, Johnny?
Oh, I work in housing. So I work for a registered provider for social housing called Live West, and we cover the southwest. So from Cheltenham all the way down to the Scilly Isles, about 38,000 properties.
Wow.
They're a really great company to work for. I've really enjoyed my time with them so far. I mean, I've been there 6 years. I never expected to get into housing. It was not in the plan, if there was a plan anymore.
Yeah.
And I work with a really great team that it's self-funded by the business, but we support our customers that get into like financial crisis or difficulty or need some help getting things sorted out. So we do a lot of really good work getting people sorted out and help them out in their lives. So it's really rewarding, and I really enjoy that stuff. So but yeah, so like the day job is a bit chaotic sometimes, but that's the way it kind of works. It's doing this on top was kind of interesting, trying to make it balanced. But yeah, that whole thing about like with the fans and stuff, being part of it after Who is a much bigger thing because there's so many people you can interact with. Especially, I mean, Twitter is the hotspot for Who news and stuff going on. It's amazing, but then actually on set, been brought into that group, and I don't know if it works for like people in roles like mine normally, but I got the impression that like the main cast sit around the set, and then there's rooms for the extras and stuff, and I wasn't quite either, if you know what I mean. I was in between. And Mandip was like, come and sit with us, and went and sat with him, and I got introduced to Jacob and her, and we were chatting about me and my life and everything, and Rashenda and Sam were great, although there was a lot of loud speaking because they couldn't hear with their prosthetics.
That's what Sam was
spoke
telling
to Sam,
them,
and he said he couldn't walk, he couldn't see, he couldn't hear.
Sensory deprivation.
So he was
almost.
just kind of acting, hoping that someone was receiving.
But he's so good at it. He's like,
exactly. Yeah,
he's so good at it. And I remember the first shot where we were doing the blocking, the walk, like the walk through to where we come down the stairs in the Temple of Ashboss, and he went, "Tell me when the cue is, because I can't hear it." And I went, I said, "I'll tap you on the shoulder." He went, "Yeah, that'll be really helpful," because he couldn't hear a thing.
I suppose you become kind of reliant on each other for that sort of thing, then, don't you?
Yeah, it was.
You had a mask on as well, didn't you?
I couldn't really hear much either, but I mean, I could hear better than they could, and
right.
Yeah, it was like action. Tap him on the shoulder. Sam starts moving. So
everyone that we've spoke to who was on the show has talked about the family feel and how the main cast make everyone feel welcome, and that's what you said about Mandip there, and Jodie would get people to dress up. As someone on their birthday. They do these sorts of things.
I was on set one day. I walked on the set, and everyone's got horrendous late 80s, early 90s shell suits on. I mean, like the worst, like ever. And I was like, "What is going on?" And one of the directors just turned around and went, "We're not mad. It's someone's birthday. We do this." And he's always wearing a naff tracksuit. And it's just like, all right, okay. But like, it's not just the crew and the cast. It's all one unit.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. No, the dynamic is amazing because everyone gets on, everyone has a laugh, everyone talks to you. And I just felt, and for me, because I'm a bit of a behind the scenes nerd, I was like asking lots of questions like, what's that? What kind of light is that? What camera are you using? What kind of lens? How does this work?
That's what Jeff would be like.
Yeah, and it was just like...
Do you know, when I was running on adverts years ago, that's what I would be like. And, when I started my filming stuff and I'd get the odd person in for work experience and they'd be sitting there and you'd be like, "Do you want to come and do anything? Do you want to ask anyone anything?" "No, I'm all right." And I'd think, right, you're not coming back tomorrow then. And I think if you take that interest and you display that passion, like you have there, for me that's never annoying, that kind of thing, and I suspect many people are the same. It's when you just sit there and you're disinterested.
I was just like, I just couldn't. I was like, I was expecting like this overly hot set, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't cold, but because of the new style of lighting, it's not as hot as I expected it. So I was like, "What's that? What kind of can's that?" And they must have thought, "For God's sake, shut up, Johnny," because you just like doing me anyway. But and then I got Mark McQuaid, who's the cameraman, Coidy. Such a nice guy. I got on with him so well. And just could have a real laugh with him. And one of the comments he had about me was like, he said, "You always hit your mark." So what do you mean? He said, because they put marks down where you're meant to roughly end up in a shot. And he said, "You always hit your mark." I said, "Because when you're on stage doing it live, if you don't hit your mark, you've messed it up." I was like, I always went to my mark. And he was like, "It's great." He said, "Because I always know you're going to be there." And then, everyone else would just kind of wander off, and he'd be like, "Oh, let's do it again." But, I mean, everyone's so good. I mean, the first day I met Jodie, it was the second day of shooting, I was there, and she came in, and she's so lively in person, in real life, as she is as the Doctor. There's no difference. There's no difference between them two people. It's the same. And and she walked in, she's like, "Hiya," chatting away. I was so, just wow, taken in by her energy and saying hello to her. I totally missed the fact that John Bishop was stood behind her.
Oh, really?
Until he sort of just appeared and he was like, "All right," and I was like, "Hello."
All right there.
All right. He's like, "I'm John." I was like, "I'm Johnny." He went, "Oh, good. Here we go." He said, "It's all a bit I was like, yeah. He said, and I was like, "Yeah, it's just, I'm still getting used to it,
Yeah.
Just both of us just it's a big set. Two Northerners it's all right. But no, really great just to hang out with them, spend time chatting to them about projects, films they've done, things they're involved with. It's just a real nice, welcoming atmosphere, and that's what got me. And I kind of, I'll admit it, I really had some blues afterwards, because you just kind of go, especially going back to the day job. I wasn't going to do anything exciting. It was like, oh my God, I've got to go back to the office on Monday. And then, especially when, you sat with Rashenda, it's like, "Well, what are you doing on weekend?" She's like, "Well, I've got to fly to Scotland because I've got a film with Netflix." And I'm like, "All right, okay. What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm going home. I've got to work Monday." Pushing paper. So, it was. I had some blue days about that. It's just like, oh my God, I just want to do this all the time. Cause it's just. I'm not saying every set's like that. I'm not saying, but the general feeling I got from being there was that's a one big Who family. There's no difference between anybody. Everyone gets on really well, and I was really lucky to be part of it, and got some sneaky information now and again. And that's been all right. Got a few contacts. Good. That's all good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So have you got yourself an agent now? Are you kind of set up to do a bit more of this stuff?
Yeah. So
no.
What's next?
I'm a Northerner. I'm reluctant to give anybody else my money. My money's mine. Not yet. I from the back of being on the set of Who.
Yeah.
I was advised to read a couple of different publications for the kind of roles
for the
and
industry.
Stuff. For the industry, and get to know a bit more. Anyway, I was reading this thing about how to get into this casting director's eyesight by the fact of how they liked an email writing to him. So I literally copied it verbatim onto an email, sent it to him, and then basically saying, I'm 7'2", I'm doing Doctor Who at the moment. You've got any roles that might require somebody dressed up in a big costume, furry, slimy, whatever you want, I'm your man.
I'm there. Yeah.
I'm there. And I got a script sent to me, not just a couple of words. I mean, 4 pages
full on
of full on talking your own voice. We want it to come across that you've got a bit of a dialect, and all this lot. And I was like, oh my God, I thought you were just going to dress me up as a, God knows what.
Sausage or something.
Yes, giant walking wardrobe. God knows, I don't know what they were going to do. And so I did this. It took me days, freaking out with doing this video audition, because you've got to self-tape yourself. And
they do
a lot of that going on at the moment. And that's quite nerve-wracking. And I sent it off. And like you say, you don't hear anything. I didn't hear anything for months. Who was well and truly wrapped by the time I heard back. And I was getting worried because I knew that things were happening on this particular production. And but then I finally got an email back saying, thanks very much. It was really good. It's not quite what we're looking for. But keep trying, blah blah blah. And that was, I had to sign a lot of documents, but it was for Disney.
Ooh.
Which was pretty exciting at the time, because I was like, oh my God. But yeah, I didn't pull off. And
tell us a bit about the cosplay, and I wanted to ask particularly about the passenger mask, because there was a little bit of
wasn't there?
about that. Do you remember?
Someone discovered that you can easily buy these things, I think, was it?
Well, you could easily buy them, but I've noticed that the price is slowly creeping up, so that's a good thing. So there was. I'll give you guys a full story. You deserve the full story, and I can tell you now because Square Peg have released some pictures. So Square Peg did all the special effects, and they're an amazing group of people. And I was lucky enough to go to their studio, which, to be fair, was just like complete chaos. I mean, they had so much stuff going on. And originally, Passenger was meant to look like one of the Ravengers.
Okay.
But a proto Ravenger. So like a Ravenger that hadn't quite grown.
Gotcha. Yeah.
No eyes, no mouth, very fleshy looking, no crystals. And Square Peg on their Instagram have got some pictures of what the proto Ravenger looked like.
Right.
And I believe at some point as well there was meant to be more Ravengers that looked like that, but I think that just kind of didn't work out the plan. But anyway, so they've sent me up to this, like, can you come on Tuesday afternoon? It's like, no, I've got work. There was a lot of that. Can you come? No, I've got work. When can you come? And come any evening you want. Can you come Wednesday evening? Absolutely fine. Where have I got to go to? Some tiny industrial estate up in the middle of Bridgend in the middle of the night, right? So off I trot in the car, you know.
Yeah.
Get there for like 8:30. Knock on the only door that's got light coming underneath it, you know. And they come around to the door. It's like, hi, how you doing? Yeah, fine. You come and try a mask on. I'm like, yeah. So they take me through. Anyway, they show me this mask, and I'm like, okay, right. It's a bit jelly looking. And they went, so let's try it on. This is the biggest one we've got. And I went, okay. So they filled it with talcum powder. And me being, you know, my typical metalhead stuff, I'm all in white, in black. So, you know. So they've gone to put this thing on my head, and it's kind of got stuck right around sort of like the hat brim kind of area. Right? So if you can imagine, there's a 7'2" me stood in the middle of a studio with this great big pink wobbling thing on my head as they're trying to pull it over my noodle. And I was like, this looks ridiculous, and there could be some many rude comments about it. And I went, this ain't working, and they were like going, no, it will. If we just try and wiggle it this way. And as they wiggled it, I heard a rip noise, and I was like, it's not working. Let's take that off. So they've taken it off. Yeah. I got covered in talcum powder. I mean, I'm literally like, and the sculptors were like, oh, you're gonna need like one made especially. I was like, you got time for that? You're gonna have time to do that? Like, yeah, we should. So like that was a plan. So the next thing I heard was, you're gonna have to come back next week. That's fine. We're gonna have to do a full head cast of you. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. And then it dawned on me, I'm gonna have to shave my beard off, aren't I? And they were like, yeah.
Oh.
Now, to all the listeners out there, me without a beard looks like a very large 12-year-old with a potato head. I'd lose about 25 years of my age, and it's not attractive. So and the wife doesn't speak to me; she normally runs away. So I was like, okay, if I've got to do it, I've got to do it. And I went to have a COVID test and a fit in the day before, actually at Roast Lock. And the special effects guys were there, and they're like, I'm coming tomorrow night, aren't I? And I went, I've really got to get the beard off. Like, can we not like wax it down or whatever?
Because it's a finely groomed chin curtain you got there, isn't it?
I've been cultivating it for many a year, much to the disappointment of many people, especially former employees like the prison service. They never liked it. So yeah, I'm quite proud of my beard. The only time I've shaved it off since I grew it the first time was for Lurch, because I had to be clean shaven for Lurch. So I went, okay, that's fine. So anyway, the next day I'm gearing myself up in the morning, because I got to take my chin face off and my fuzz off, and I'm like, okay, here we go. And then I got a message literally before I'm about to do it. Like, literally, they've changed their mind. They're not doing a headcast. I was like, clippers in hand, like,
you're ready to go. Psychologically geared up, and then
So there's a little bit of relief at that, but at the same time, there was a little bit of like, I kind of wanted a full head cast. You know, I wanted to bring it home and have it on the mantelpiece. Put a light in the top of it or something. So they were like, you got to come. Can you come to the costume fitters? Yeah, I'll come to the costume fitting. So I got there and they were like, right, we can't do what we planned. He's going to have like a mask, like a helmet. I was like, okay, what have we got? And they pulled out these 3 masks.
Yeah.
And it was explained, they hadn't quite decided. He was going to have some kind of a hood or something. I was like, okay. So there was like a kind of Scully looking one, which wouldn't have looked that dissimilar to a Ravager, but it was kind of a Scully looking one. There was one that looked like a knight's helmet, like proper square, you know.
Okay, yeah, like a tin-head buckethead kind of thing.
Yeah, tin-head buckethead thing, and I was like, that's kind of cool because that's a bit, you know. Who does weird stuff like that sometimes, doesn't it? So
bit metal as well. You could do that.
Yeah, bit metal. I was feeling it. It did have a bit of a look though of the Black Knight from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, though. So I was kind of having those vibes. And then there was the paintball mask, and we tried them on with a jacket and had a look, and Ray took some photographs, and it was like, okay. And they said, "What do you think?" as well, because and I was like, "Look, I got to wear it," and I was like, "Well, that one's really not comfortable at all." That one looks cool, but I'm not quite sure it's doing what you want it to do. I said, the only one that feels right is this. And he was like, yeah, well, I think we like that one as well. He said, but we'll send it to the directors and let them decide. So I didn't hear anything. And then literally, I didn't know nothing about the mask until I went for the final costume fitting. And it was like, it's going to be this one. I was kind of glad because the other two, you know. And yeah, so obviously, when they did they papped me at Liverpool, and it's like, I found his mask on Amazon for like, on Wish for like, 10 quid. Yeah. And I was like, actually, it's only $8.99 on Amazon because I've already bought 2. So the day I worked out which mask it was, I was like straight on there going, because I'm a cosplayer, and what would be more funny than cosplaying yourself? So I was like, I'm going to buy a couple of them. Yeah. And that was it.
But, it shows that... not everything is bespoke made for film or TV. And, I can't remember what I was... Maybe it was an old Who thing, and they were pointing out, this high-tech device that we've got here is actually a painted car blipper.
Yeah.
That they put another light on the end of or something. And, people sort of... the mask, had a bit of a fuss made about it, but you know what? The whole series was made under really difficult conditions and stuff, and the mask looked cool. Who cares where it came from?
And you've got to remember, like, especially like British TV, has repurposed items for years. Special effects guys have been doing it since they've been doing special effects. Jerry Anderson used toothpaste tops to do knobs on Thunderbirds. Most of the stuff in Star Wars is made out of really expensive camera parts.
Airfix
for ridiculous stuff.
Like
Airfix kits and stuff. Doctor Who stuff is and stuff's been repurposed. So the fact that they picked a mask which is readily available and they modified it a little bit, and it's not modified loads, but it's modified enough that it doesn't look quite the same. It works. It looks like
it totally works. Yeah.
It matches up with what the Ravengers look like. And at the time when I just thought that Passenger was just like a big heavy. I was just like, well, he's not going to have a face, isn't he? He's going to be a bit like the Mountain, just not talking, lumbering around, knocking people out. That's what I thought I was going to be doing. I got a bit of a shock when it didn't work out like that, to be fair. Cause I was like,
I thought I was there talk about the character? Because there's a question from Dana
I'm just looking at that, Jeff. You're reading my mind.
Oh, you go, Paul. You read this.
Oh, that's all right. Well, okay. Yes, indeed. So Dana K. From Twitter asks, so in your head, Johnny, was Passenger a mercenary, or was he just used by the others like Swarm to do their bidding? What do you think?
I think it's a bit of both, and if you go by, it's a tough one. Yeah, he was used, but he's not a he, is he?
Not
Passenger's
really.
a form.
Yeah.
And the bit that I don't think was very clear. And it definitely wasn't clear to me in the script because, like when the first part of the script I ever read, which, was the bit that they gave me to sort of like do my little film reel to before I got the role was, the third follows the two. He's bigger, he's more menacing, he's a protector, he's threatening, You know, so it was all. He's a heavy. He's coming in to do that. You know, and if you look at like War of the Sontarans, that's the way that Swarm really describes him. It's like, you know, you don't do as you're told. Passenger's going to hurt you.
It's a threat.
And it's a threat. So that's the way I kind of played it at first. And it wasn't until we started filming. So I did that full week, you know, and at the end of that first week, they're like, hey, we're wrapped on the episode. I was like, brilliant. I mean, we'll see you in February. I was like, I'm coming back? Like, no one had told me. So when I went back for February, it was like we're filming episode 3. And which was just crazy because that whole episode is just bonkers.
We loved that one, didn't we? Once Upon Time.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Once Upon Time is just brilliant. I mean,
quite unique.
Filming it was just fantastic because everyone kept changing costumes. No one knew what the hell was going on. And then when they were like, okay, so this is what's going to happen, because you get your sides, the little script. It's in the biz. It's the sides. You get your sides in the morning, and I was reading it, and I was like, Passenger does what? He's like, there's 6 of him. What? And I was really like, so I spoke to the director Az, and I was like, I don't get this bit. And he went, right. So he said, there's gonna be 5 of you. It's kind of like a flashback, but not. I was like, right. There's gonna be 5 of you, and then the one is actually not a real passenger. It's the Doctor's passenger, and it's gonna let all the Maury out. Throw them out of himself, and then capture Swarm and Azure. And I was like, right, not a Scooby what's going on right now at all. And so that whole week we were like, and also like I didn't know about Old Swarm, so I knew nothing about Old Swarm until the Thursday where Matthew Needham walks in and there's 2 swarms on set, and I'm going, I don't get it. What's going on? Like, this is Old Swarm, right? And he looked fantastic in his pimping coat. Not being funny, but Old Swarm's costume was beautiful. And he was like, what the hell's going on? So doing that whole scene where Passenger like releases the Maury and understanding that he's not a person, there's multiples of him. He's a form. He's an entity. He's a human prison. Ironic, since I'm an ex-prison officer. It was like this isn't a henchman anymore. This is almost like a plot device. It's not it's not a person as such. It's a weapon. It's a it could be anything they wanted it to be. And Swarm does abuse that with Passenger, and you really see that in the end as well. In that final scene I did with Jodie, where she's walking around me and basically the Doctor saying, you just left here. You've got no order. You're not, what I mean? And it's like, that final passenger form, that form that they originally got, that they've just left out somewhere in an unknown space, waiting for something to happen. Bit of both.
Even though I think you're right, and you do sort of, you feel a bit kind of sad for him, even though like you said, it's not a kind of a personality as such, but you said he was left there, and so it's funny that you kind of grow to like characters, don't you? And, and can kind of feel something for them. So you mentioned earlier that originally you were told you were going to do 8 episodes, and then it was cut down. So fans often wonder what changed in series 13, because obviously I guess the original plan was going to be 10 episodes like normal, then COVID hit and we ended up with 6 in Flux, and I just wondered how much you knew about what changed and how.
All right, so I got told originally it was meant to be 13. There was meant to be 13 episodes of series 13. COVID happened, plans all went to pot, everything shut down, and I think there was a period of time where it was really on the cards whether they would film a series at all. It was there was no green lighting for anything. When I got involved, I got told it's going to be 8 episodes. I was in from episode 2, which was fine, and that was kind of it. So I was like, okay, great. I didn't realize I'd be in 5 episodes. I just got told I'd be in an episode. And then as we were filming, a few things happened. So like, restrictions got eased a little bit, which is why the Liverpool shoot went on and we could do some of the location stuff and all that stuff was going on. But then at the same time, other things happened. They were so good at keeping everybody on point with all the COVID testing and the social distancing, and every precaution was put into place to make sure there was the minimal amount of risk to everybody on that set.
Yeah.
They couldn't have managed it any better way. It was so well enforced, and it wasn't even like anyone was being nasty about it. It was just the fact that we've all got to be careful. Make sure you do this. Everyone do this. So they took all the precautions, but with all the best precautions in the world, COVID had an impact on not just what you were doing at the time, but everything that was going on around us. And I needed a letter to travel across the bridge in case I got stopped by the police, because I wasn't meant to leave England to go to Wales.
Yeah.
Of course.
So it was all them kind of things. So I don't really know what stopped things happening, or what halted things, or what changed even the decision to go from 6 episodes to 8 episodes. All I remember was, because I had 2 golden wraps, which is your ending, and I filmed my ending once, and wibbly wobbly green screen timey-wimey thing, and then obviously it didn't look very good, because the next thing you know, a month later, I get a phone call saying, "Can you come back and do the wibbly wobbly green screen thing again, but on ropes?" I was like, "Oh, okay."
On ropes.
On ropes.
Oh, ropes.
So they hoisted me from the ceiling. It was a fun time for everybody, especially not me. But when I got back that time, there was that's when I found out this was wrapping the filming, and then they were going to go on and do the New Year's Day special, and then there was another special planned, and then there was something else planned. But that was about as much information as I got. They were really good as well at not telling you anything.
Yeah.
With the amount of times I sat on set with the rest of the cast, and it's like, do you know what we're doing? No. Okay, no. Which bit is this? I'm not sure. Brilliant. And I remember when it came out, and I was watching it, and I started to piece it together in my head from what I'd been in and stuff. It was like, now I get it. I totally get it. But I never knew about Carvastian. I never knew about Jericho. I never knew about any of that. It was never even mentioned. It was never mentioned that they end up back in time. The only reason I knew about the Angels was because the house they filmed the Angels episodes in is a friend of mine's cousin's.
No, really?
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know, that's one of the things with this era of the show, is that the secrets they've kept has been so well done. Almost nothing is leaked, which is really good. But I think that Paul and I and a lot of other people loved Flux. And either the Darks, the whole era. But I think we were really lucky to get anything. Like you said, at one point, they didn't know they were going to film, and I remember Chris Chibnall wrote in Doctor Who magazine that they wanted to go ahead with it, and they didn't know whether it was going to. Actually, do you remember, Paul? You said we don't know if it's going to be 8 episodes or 6, or
I do.
what it was going to be, and I think. Plans obviously change. Situations around them impacted things, and like you said, the Liverpool stuff became an option. And I think there was probably a number of ideas for episodes like, say, War of the Sontarans, that would have just been a normal episode in a normal series, and then they kind of probably had to drop a few, and then put some others into the kind of Flux idea, and there was probably a lot of shuffling around.
And I think obviously time constraints was the biggest problem, I reckon, because they knew that filming had started late compared to when they normally start filming a series, and they still had to wrap it by the end of the same period of time. And with all the restrictions, John got COVID over that Christmas, so even though they were on a break, John was recovering from COVID. Other people, things got changed, couldn't make it, whatever. It was all a bit, So, and I'd get messages saying, "Can you come and do Monday, Tuesday?" And I'd arrange everything and shift everything around at work and get a Monday, Tuesday off. And then Sunday night, I'd get a message going, "They don't need you Monday, Tuesday now. They need next Thursday." And I'm going, "Oh my God, okay." And it was just because everything it was so. How the hell the production team kept up with it, I don't know, because they were flat out.
Flat out. I think maybe in time, Chris will talk about the whole production of it, but it's fascinating, trying to pull, like, I've been out filming during it all, and on a much smaller scale to this completely, but I was like due to go film a theatre show a couple of weeks ago. I had to leave the house at 8:30. Got a text at 8:00. It's off. Someone in the cast has got COVID. Can't do it. And imagine doing, working on something with 50, 60 people, like who's got on its crew or whatever, and the impact if someone goes sick or whatever,
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful that we got anything, and what we got was so good, because we could have just ended up with nothing really.
Yeah, true.
So Paul, have you got any questions? Because I've got one.
You've got one. You've got one. Have you?
Got one.
I do have a question, but I want to ask it in a minute, actually. Although, okay, I'll tell you what, I have to ask, because this intrigued me earlier on today. I'm going to read you a tweet from someone here, and it says, once I drove a car that I loved. This was Helmet. A car called Helmet, ladies and gentlemen. My Nissan Micra. I loved this car. Also, considering my 7'2" frame, one of the most comfortable to drive. And there's a picture of you in that little car.
So, yeah, right.
Tell us about this. Tell us about Helmet.
So, Helmet. So, when I worked in the prison service, obviously, it's nowhere near my house, because it's never a good idea to work next door to live next door to the prison. And so I had a car, a little run around, and it died. It died a ceremonial death. It just went. So I need another car. So I'm looking around to find a car. Obviously, being 7'2", there's a few restrictions. So I can't fit in BMWs. I can't fit in a Mercedes. I can't fit in a Range Rover. Any kind of 4x4, no chance.
Good. Yeah.
And not because of the size of the car, but because of the size of the ridiculously small footwells, because I've got size 18 feet, right? Yeah. So I was looking for old runarounds, not too expensive, just something to get me going.
Yeah.
And so the older the car and the less interior plastic, the better. And I was looking, and I went to try a Fiesta, and that was all right, but it was a bit rattly, and I looked at a couple of others. Anyway, just saw in the paper by chance, someone up the road was selling this Micra. And I was like, I wonder if I can fit in a... I've never tried getting a Micra. So
it's a life experience.
Let's go and try this. So I went up, knocked on this person's door, and it was in all right shape. Had a bit of rust on it, but it wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
But
it looks very smart on the picture.
It's a basic Micra, nothing exciting. It was just Anyway, so I got in it. I could get in it fine, but there was two problems. The first was the gap around the accelerator pedal was a little bit too small for my foot.
Right.
And when I tried to
two pedals at the same time.
Exactly. And when I tried to shut the door, I couldn't because the handle of the door dug into my knee, which then forced it into the steering wheel.
Oh.
But me and my father-in-law, who's a great mechanic, and we're very much both. He's taught me a lot about mechanics, and he was like, "Well, it's not an MOT requirement to have an interior door handle. You could replace that with a bit of string."
Perfect.
And I went, "Does it come off?" And he went, "Yeah, we could just unbolt that." I was like,
"Yeah, just take it off."
All right. So we paid for the car.
Yeah.
An amazing £380. And
awesome.
I said, "Can you drive it home? Because I can't shut the door." So he drives his Micra home. We get it back, took the interior handle off, replaced it with a bit of cord with some hose pipe on it just to give it a bit of grip. And then the door shut perfectly.
Bit of comfort.
The door shut perfectly.
Amazing.
Loads of room. And then I got a hacksaw out and I cut the interior plastic around the accelerator because you don't need it. It's just a bit of plastic.
It's all peripheral.
And there we go. There was, and it was called Helmet because one of the fam was like, it looks like a stormtrooper's helmet, and I was like, oh, it does.
I can see that now. Yeah.
So it became Helmet.
Look at that.
And it was a really economical. I mean, it wasn't even a full liter. It was like 900cc.
Yeah.
It was, dragging my massive 7'2", 20 odd stone, well 25 odd stone frame around up and down the motorway 5 times a week.
It is literally a two-door.
Yeah.
Micro as well. It's not even a 4-door. It's 2 doors, 3 doors.
No one could ever sit. Yeah. No one could ever sit behind me because the seat was forced right back into the back seat. No.
But your face looks so happy. Look, it's a little smiley face.
Yeah. I love that car. I loved it, and the day it died was the most gutting because I'd finished work and I was driving down the motorway, and it was a chain-driven engine, which is obviously infinitely better than having to do a cam belt, and it started making this horrible rattling noise. And I was like, oh God, oh no, it's gone. And it kind of limped the last quarter of a mile home.
Yeah.
And then it was like, no, it's gone. It's totally shot. It's over. I was like, so I had to take it to the scrapyard, and I had to pretty much coast it all the way down to the scrappies. I only just got it into their bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, just look after it, be gentle, because it's
just give it a good ending.
Give it a good send up. They gave me 20 quid. I mean, that was generous as well at the time.
20 quid.
20 quid for helmet. But I mean, it had lasted me like 2 years, and I'd driven it into the ground. I mean, like, you know.
Say what, mate? For 300 quid though, that's not bad, is it?
No, I think it was to fully comp insurance. It was about 100 quid a year.
Was it? So 500 quid all in and 20 quid back at the end.
Yeah, 20 quid back at the end.
Back.
I used to leave it unlocked as well. I mean, like, no one ever nicked it.
Because it was, but it was helmet. You know,
it was helmet. Helmet was my buddy, and then I had another one. I had a blue Peugeot that was called Yondu.
Nice.
I like that. Did you whistle at it?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't whistling when it got written off when it went backwards into a wall. But yeah. So me and my runarounds are quite legendary because they're always small, rather compact, and I look ridiculous getting out of them. Like my first car ever up at home was a Metro.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, you know,
it's even smaller than a Micro, probably, isn't it?
Yeah, it was.
There's not much in it.
Yeah. So that's the story of helmet. Bless it. It's gone to car heaven.
Thanks for sharing that with us, mate. That's kind of made my night now because I saw that earlier. I thought I've got to know the story on this. Jeff, what was your question for Jonny?
Well, you sort of mentioned it, but I can see a guitar head behind you there. So I wanted to ask about your band and your music.
There's a number of guitars here. I'm not very good at them. I'm not gonna lie. So I got into playing bass. And before anyone asks the question, I cannot play a guitar. I literally I can't play a guitar for toffee. I haven't got a clue about chords. Won't be able to tell you where to start. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've tried showing the kids some bits and they get even more confused. So I just kind of leave it. I do play a bit of ukulele now though, but that's only got 4 strings as well. So, but that's kind of a comedy little.
That's right. Yeah.
But so I got into playing bass because this guy Adam was like, he came into college and he had a bass, and I said, oh, that's cool. He's like, yeah. He said, I just bought it for a fiddle around because I play guitar.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, show us some stuff. So he showed me like 3 notes. And I was sat there jamming these 3 notes for most of the day in art college, where I probably should have been doing some kind of coursework.
Some kind of art.
Some kind of art, you know. And then we kind of like, because we were hanging out all the time, I went to his house one day and he showed me basically the real basics of a song. And I was like, I really want to get into this because it kind of fits the guy at art college kind of thing. And
you like
I was into that whole like, you know, Beatles aesthetic of like, they went to art college, and Stuart Sutcliffe was an amazing artist, and you know I love his work, and you know he was in the Beatles and he was the bass player, but he couldn't really play bass, and it kind of fit what I was doing. So I was like, I'm gonna have a crack at this. Let's see. So I bought my first bass. Give it a go. I bought my first bass for 60 quid. It was awful. It was like in bits, and I learned playing along to like Manic Street Preachers and Guns N' Roses riffs, and me and Adam like jammed out a lot of like, we were really into Manic Street Preachers at the time, and like the Clash and stuff like that, a bit of Sex Pistols and things like that. So we were jamming out like songs like that.
Yeah.
And we really wanted to give it a good go, but it just kind of never happened because, you know, we were only at art college for a year and then we're off to uni. So I went to art college, and by that time I'd bought my second bass. He's called Stan. He's a precision. And we kind of I got to uni and Stan sat in the corner for about 3 years. He didn't do anything. He
Solo Stan, lonely Stan,
just on a stand collecting dust.
Lonely Stan on a stand
with the occasional added sticker just for effect.
Yeah.
And anyway, one of the guys at uni had a band, or the makings of a band, and they tried out a couple of bass players, and someone had mentioned to him that I had a bass, and they were like, "Do you play bass?" I was like, "Plays a bit. That's a bit,
It's loose.
It's loose." And he said, "Do you want to come up and have a go?" I was like, "Yeah, all right." So I went up to this music studio, and it all seemed very professional to me. Now, after the experiences I've had, it was a terrible, like, whole of a studio. But it had good heart, and I liked going up there. It had character, and I kind of like studios with character now. And we started playing. I learnt one song. One song turned to 2 songs. Then another guitarist appeared, and then before we knew it, we were a band called My So-Called Friend, and we were playing in South Wales, and we were playing a good couple of gigs every other week. It wasn't like it was not a money making opportunity. I think as a band we made about 120 quid the whole time we were together, which was about 2 years. But My So-Called Friend was like, it was getting a bit of momentum, and people knew who we were, and people were coming to the gigs, and it was that was cool. And then we had a bit of an internal artistic difference, and
of course, bands have to go
as
through these moments.
as they do. And we split up, and I say we split up. The guitarist and the drummer went one way, and me, the guitarist, and the vocalist went the other way.
Yeah.
And that was kind of it, we thought, until we went back to the singer's house. It was like, what are we going to do? I said, well, I know a drummer. And they went, all right. Is he good? I went, well, he's different. My mate Bull, he's like, I always call him the Jimi Hendrix of drumming, because he never plays any song the same twice.
Interesting.
And they were like, what we're going to call ourselves? We can't use My So-Called Friend anymore. And we were watching Charmed. And I don't know why we're watching Charmed. We were watching Charmed. And on Charmed, they bring to life this action man ninja to go and assassinate someone. And I was like, oh, look at that, there's a 12-inch ninja on the telly. And the singer went, that's it? We'll call ourselves 12-inch ninja. I was like, no, I didn't mean it for that. And he went, no, I'll do. 12-inch ninja. So that was it. So 12-inch ninja was born, and we got some pretty good momentum with 12-inch ninja. We had a couple of things. We recorded a little bit. We had a couple of things put on local radio. We got a good relationship going with the Barfly in Cardiff when they used to do a lot of touring bands, and we used to get a phone call to sort of say, do you want to come and support this band tonight? And we were like, all right, who? And they're like, oh, the Star Spangles. Never heard of him, but we'll do the gig.
We'll do it.
The D4. Yeah, never heard of him, but we'll do the gig. And then And then this one night we got, do you want to come and do a gig tomorrow? Yeah. Who are they? He went, oh, they're really up and coming. Like, loads of people are talking about them. I was like, all right. So we get to the Barfly, we walk in, and they're late. They're met a sound check first, and they're late. I was like, who are these guys? And he went, oh, they're called The Darkness. I went, never heard of him. Like, not who they are. And they walk in, flares and all this 70s style get up, and we're like, baggy jeans and spiky hair and stuff. And I was like, what the hell's this? And they were chatting to us and like, oh, we've heard all about you guys. It's like, why have you heard about us? And he went, oh, they were talking about you in London last week. I'm like, really? I was like, yeah, it's some crazy band in South Wales that have got a 7-foot bass player and a guy that looks like a gnome on speed. I was like, yeah, that's us. It was really cool because we supported them, and I got to hang out with them that night, and it was just starting to build up, and it was getting going. Then we had a recording session planned, and it was all going really well, and then it just went kabang. And that was it. And so I was like, okay, that's it over. And again, the basses all stayed in the corner of the bedroom, and no one moved for a while. And there was dust accumulating, and then I moved on, family, marriage, divorce, and then I met my partner Beth, my wife, and she had this mate called Eli. And he was like, and everything I'd always done was always like punk, bit of metal, but mainly punk and stuff. And Eli was like talking away this night in the pub, and he went, "Oh, the bass player's just left." I went, "Oh, you're in a band?" He was like, "Yeah." What are they called? Gelgothen. Like Gelgothen? What, like the poop demon in Dogma? He went, "Yeah, but spelt differently." I was like, "All right, okay."
With a Z.
Like what kind of music's that? And he went, "Oh, it's like melodic death metal." I was like, "Oh, okay."
That's an oxymoron, surely.
Yeah. Like, okay. Yeah. And I was like, "All right." Anyway, I said, "Well, I play bass." And he went, "Do you?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "You interested?" I went, "Not really." And he said, "Well, give it a try." I was like, "All right." So I've turned up. Now, at this point, I'm 32, right? He's 18.
Yeah.
The rest of the band are like 18, 19. And I walk in, and I'm like, "Oh, my God. It's literally like a scouts group, this." I'm like, the old man. And but they sounded immense. Their sound was epic. And it was like, okay, I want to give this a go. It wasn't my style of playing. I've never played anything like complicated in my life. I had to use more than 2 strings. That was hard work.
Progress.
Progressing. I had to buy proper gear. That was even more hard work.
Whoa.
And then it just kind of really escalated.
Yeah.
We got a new drummer. My mate Tom. He's an amazing jazz drummer. Like swinging jazz, amazing.
Yeah.
And then we stick him in a death metal band. So you've got like 3 death metalers, a jazz drummer, and a punk bassist doing melodic death metal.
I can kind of see that, actually.
It was so
it's a kind of a fusion, and
it's
not much difference between sort of jazz drumming is kind of like throwing a whole bunch of kit down the stairs.
It was
just doing it quicker, maybe.
Quicker and slightly more in time. That's how. So I ended up in Gelgothen, and Gelgothen ran like pretty much really solidly. We got some good gigs. We were playing around. We recorded some stuff, and it's always been that thing. Like we're just picking up momentum. Everything's getting really good, and we're getting heard, and people want to come and see us. And we were getting like 80, 90, 100 people at a show, which is quite a lot around there, especially at that kind of scene. And then, God damn it, 3 of them decided they're going to go to university and continue their lives. I mean, how inconsiderate. But we've had a few reunions since then. We've had the what was it? The rise of Gelgothen, and the beast will rise. That was one of them. And they're always fun shows to play. There's a few of them on YouTube if you want to laugh. There's
Gelgothen's. Put some links in there. We're going to find them.
Find them. There's one called Gelgothen's final gig, which was in 2012, which was just before they went to uni. I'm adorned with a wonderful flat cap, and it was kind of like that was going to be the end. So that was an epic gig, and there was loads of people there, and we had a really fun night. And then the sort of 2 reunion gigs were like about a year after that, and then the other one was like 6 years after that. And like we all got back in a room, and we hadn't been back in a room doing that for a long time.
Yeah.
And then off the back of that kind of reunion, I got together with this other bunch of guys and started another band called 6 of 12, which kind of was ticking along and doing all right. And then COVID hit, and then that kind of ruined it. So during lockdown, I've been kind of writing an album. On my own,
really?
And doing some.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, totally different. So I've never done it on my own. I've always been in a band. So I started writing songs, like mashing a guitar with my hands, not really writing chords. Just if a note sounds all right, I'll leave it in there. Yeah, hit it. And I started to struggle a little bit with it. So my really good friend Mike, he's now involved in it, and we've got Rich, the drummer from 6 to 12, and we've got Mike's mate Dan, who's also playing guitar. So we've had a few jams now to go through some of the songs, and it's kind of it's evolving. But I've never written lyrics. I've never written a song on my own. So
but that's a new discovery, isn't it? A new experience. Something to put your hand in. You're obviously quite an arty guy. You're creative.
I just kind of like having a go. I'll have a go at anything. You know what I mean? And so when it's finally done, it'll be released with a big passenger mask on the front. So
yes, definitely needs that. I am the passenger.
Get some sales in. But I love the band stuff. I love being on stage doing that kind of stuff. It's like a different thing altogether. Like being on stage doing a plays one thing, being backstage doing props and stuff something different again.
Yeah.
Being on stage in a band, there's nothing more sort of. You can be playing to 20 people, you can play to 2,000. I think the biggest audience I ever played to was 2,000 people.
Was it really?
Just,
wow.
Yeah. And it's just like it's just mad. You just can't get another experience like it. So hopefully when things have sorted and we've got it right, we'll do some gigs as well. So
that's amazing. Yeah, I think the most I've ever played to is about 50 people in Martins. It's funny because what you were saying, because I was in a band in my really since I was sort of 13 onwards, and then right through my teens. And we did the thing again of like splitting up and getting a few other guys in and blah blah blah, that sort of stuff. And we were doing pretty well. We played in West London for quite a few gigs in the pubs and what have you, even though we were too young. But nobody cared. They didn't. It's like, I mean, it screwed my A levels up, but obviously not with the other guys because they all went off to uni, and I went to work in a supermarket. So that was.
Yeah, but
I went to uni a bit later on, but I had to go back as a mature student. But it was fun. I wouldn't not do the same thing again. If you know what I mean? I would absolutely, because it was such an experience. It is
an experience, and anyone who can do it. I mean, even if you're not sure if you can do it, I'd always say give it a try.
Give it a
go.
Yeah.
Give it a go because I quite openly admit I can't really play bass. I muddle through. I mean, everyone always says, "No, you're really good," and I'm like, "I'm really not." I mean, I just fluff it a lot of the time, and no one notices, to be honest. And I've got to the point now where I can buy some really quite fancy effects pedals, so I can make some noises which sound pretty good, but they ain't, And but give it a go. Get on a stage. I kind of said that to someone I knew a while ago who's an amazing guitarist, and they won't get on stage. They won't do it. Really? And it's just like go and do it once. See if you like it. If you don't like it, at least you can always turn around and say, I gave it a crack.
You tried. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah. So, Jeff, have we got any? Any more tweets? Any more tweeted questions from various people that we haven't covered?
Ooh. No, I think that's everything.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and I've gone through all the questions that I had. Well, I think. Like with everyone we chat to, I could talk all evening, really. But,
I could talk all evening as well, but my brews run out, so we're getting to the point of
He's going to start getting itchy now, isn't it? It's starting getting a bit tasty.
Yeah, and Northerner without tea is very dangerous, just saying. But I mean, Who, amazing experience. Yeah. I can't ever put in a word what it was like to go and do it and to go and meet those people and to be part of that. And it's the thing that's made it better is the follow-on stuff. The meeting everybody afterwards. Being involved with the fans, being involved in those conversations, rediscovering who myself, it's now a big part of what I'm doing. It's a big part of of my life. And I'm already pretty busy, so I've had to make some considerable time for it. But it's a big thing, and I really do feel like I've got a responsibility to it as well now because you're in it. But for a guy that has dabbled in everything, had a few weird career choices, animation to security to prison officer to housing, and then
to helmet driver.
Been in some bands, made some props, done some sets, done some stage management, played an undead zombie butler, and then the next thing you know,
singing Lurch.
I got on the Who.
Saving the universe.
Yeah, I had a crack at Star Wars. Yeah, I had a crack at Star Wars, but they didn't want me, so
Not yet. Maybe there's still time. They've got a lot of plans.
I hope I haven't tarnished that after the attempt last time. I don't think I did. That wasn't really my fault last time. It was just
exactly. You can always go back. Keep your eye out for another casting call and just give it a go. Like you said, like your advice to the guitar player, just keep trying, just keep at it.
Yeah, keep trying. Yeah. So we don't know what's next. There's some things maybe in the pipeline. No, but
brilliant. Well, keep us posted, won't you?
Oh, I'm sure I will. I'm sure you'll be able to see.
Well, we'll have to get you on the MCU podcast when we do one of those.
God, please get me on that quick.
Yes.
Because the funny thing about the MCU stuff is they've gone down a weird track, I think, with some of the characters, but they've brought to the screen some of the characters I really love. So I really love Moon Knight. I think Moon Knight's epic. And then I really love as well Taskmaster, and I was totally gutted with what they did with Taskmaster.
Oh, really?
Right. Yeah. So like,
were, weren't they?
I just get me on an MCU podcast because I'll be well up for that. You know, because as the 14-year-old kid that ploughed through all them comics and now sees it on the screen, I got some stuff to say.
That's amazing. Yeah. Okay.
It might be a multi-episode.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah.
Jonny Mathers does MCU. There you go.
We'll
cue that
hatch a
one up
plan
for you.
for that.
Hatch a plan,
What we want to do.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
We'll definitely do that. Johnny, thank you.
It's been a pleasure
Jeff.
talking to you. Yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I've loved hearing your stories.
Definitely.
And I think you've got to live the Who dream that many of us would like being in it, meeting the
privileged
cast
few in a way. There's not many of us can do that, and to be actually for a character who doesn't say anything, really memorable. I mean it in the nicest way.
Yeah. I know.
You take Passenger out of that trio, and I don't think you could now. My brain was firing with all kinds of ideas as to what or who Passenger was from like episode 2. I was thinking like, this is like a proto TARDIS or something. That
there was all sorts of that. Like I was Omega. I was like
that was one. You're right.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, there was. Like it could be this, could be that, could be other, could be. Yeah, someone said like some kind of evil TARDIS. TARDIS. There was so many things that could have been, and it was nice to be sat there going, I know.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's just occurred to me, right? The strong silent type in the background, right? Who instantly creates a whole wave of mythology without saying hardly anything. Boba Fett. You are the Boba Fett of the Doctor Who universe. Now that is
a credit. That's a credit, that, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that we'll see Passenger again at some point.
On that note.
Yeah. At some point.
We will.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us on Who Corner to Corner, and to our listeners, we hope you've enjoyed our chat with Johnny, and it's inspired you and lifted you up a bit the way it has us tonight.
Indeed, yeah. No, it's been a lot of fun, Johnny. Thanks for joining us, mate. Really appreciate you spending the time there.
Brilliant.
No, anytime. It's been really good, and it's been nice to sort of chat a bit more about other stuff as well, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Good.
Fantastic. Brilliant.
Awesome.